tended to also be the kind of people to laugh at racially insensitive jokes. For the past 3 months, he had been singling us out, making our lives a living hell. Sure, he would send similar emails to all his students, but he would also make jokes in class about monkeys, and he would always name them Ethan and Maya. More than once I caught him smirking at me in particular as he was making racist joke and said the gorilla in the story he was telling was named Ethan. It was Maya's first semester in the philosophy program. Hi, my name is Ethan, and I didn't think I'd ever experienced a day where I felt truly trapped at university. But in my second year, I met a professor that got under my skin like no one had ever done before. The professor's name was Barnett, and he was a nightmare of a man, and I honestly think he not only knew it, but reveled in it. Professor Barnett hated black people, and he didn't try to hide it. He was incredibly racist toward Maya and me, as we were both black students in his class. I had migrated from Haiti, while Maya came from Nigeria.
Ethan, did you read his email?
Maya was in many of the same classes as myself, and she despised Professor Barnett just as much as I did. Yeah, I saw it. I assume he sent you the same kind of email then?
Yeah, of course he did. The usual nonsense about how poorly written my paper was, and how a monkey could write better by slamming their face into the keyboard 100 times. He said my argument lacked clarity and depth, and suggested I revisit the fundamental principles of logic.
I shook my head and sighed. He had of course sent a very similar email to me. Of course it was his job to grade our work and to add criticism, but he was always so snarky and cruel about it, and he enjoyed it as well. The few times that I saw students complain to him about what he wrote to them ended in Barnett screaming at the students in front of the whole class. He would have the students stand up at the front of the classroom, and he would ridicule and humiliate them. He would typically then give them an extra hard time after that. The last student I saw that complained to him ended up flunking out, as every assignment that he handed in after that received a failing mark. It's the same excuse every time. He's just trying to wear us down.
You know, Ethan, I'm starting to think it's not just our papers he has a problem with.
I didn't need her to say more. I'd been thinking the same thing for weeks, but saying it out loud felt like stepping into dangerous territory. Professor Barnett had a reputation of being strict and hard to work with, but there were some people that spoke highly of him. Of course I knew better, since those same people that spoke highly of him tended to also be the kind of people to laugh at racially insensitive jokes. For the past 3 months, he had been singling us out, making our lives a living hell. Sure, he would send similar emails to all his students, but he would also make jokes in class about monkeys, and he would always name them Ethan and Maya. More than once I caught him smirking at me in particular as he was making racist joke and said the gorilla in the story he was telling was named Ethan. It was Maya's first semester in the philosophy program, and she had quickly earned a reputation as one of the brightest students in the class. I had been around a little longer, and while I wasn't a star student, I held my own. But that didn't seem to matter to Barnett. We were 2 of the few black students in his class, and from day 1, it felt like we were marked.
Last week when I went to his office hours, he didn't even look me in the eye. He just told me that maybe I should consider a field more aligned with my strengths. He suggested that I take up basketball or making fried chicken. Like philosophy isn't something I can handle.
That's ridiculous. He's been pulling that same crap with me too. He said my analysis was simplistic and that I might be better suited for less demanding subjects. He even suggested that maybe I drop out and stop taking up space that would be better used by someone with lighter skin. He outright said something racist to me. The thing was that our issues with him extended beyond the classroom even. There was the time that Maya's car got keyed. The words, "Leave this school monkey," were carved into the hood. Of course, there was no way to prove that it was Professor Barnett, but since he was the only person in the parking lot in the general area of Maya's car, and he purposefully waved and winked at her, it was hard to imagine that it could have been anyone else. It was an insane thing for a professor to do, but Barnett wasn't a very rational or sane person. There were some classes where he would go on rants about things not even related to philosophy, such as how all Asian people couldn't drive, or how all black people were one of 3 things. He said that we were either on drugs, stealing money from the government with food stamps, or we were great at sports, and that we were very stupid as a result. Sadly, we had heard such remarks more than once. So yeah, We knew that he hated us because we were black, but we really couldn't figure out a way to make other people at the university see the terrible things that we saw. It was then that Maya and I decided that we would get the whole world to see how awful he truly was. If we could only get the senior staff to see how awful he was, then even with his tenure, they would be forced to fire him. It was then that Maya came up with a devious plan. We bought matching outfits and masks, and made sure to make the outfits look baggy enough that our body types weren't obvious. Standing next to each other, we looked like twins. Then Maya, with her mask on, stood next to Barnett's car and waited for him to be done for the day. When he finally went outside, she waved at him and then using a pair of hammers smashed out all the windows of his car and then ran away. Barnett was furious, and so he gave chase. Maya ran all the way from the parking lot, through the halls of the school and into the cafeteria. People that saw Barnett chasing someone tripped him a few times. I didn't know who the people were, but it was obvious that we weren't the only ones that hated Barnett. A couple of times when he was tripped, he fell to the ground hard and chipped his teeth and broke one of his fingers, but he was so angry that he got right back up and chased after Maya. I was waiting the whole time in the cafeteria, wearing the same outfit as Maya, and I had made a show of being there for hours. I spoke to people constantly to make an alibi to show that I was never anywhere near his car. When Maya got to the cafeteria, she hid and made sure that no one saw her come in. Then she quickly changed and slowly made her way over to me. Barnett ran into the cafeteria fuming and full of blinding rage. He took one look at me and saw what I was wearing and charged at me. I had assumed that he would be angry and yell at me, but he was so upset that he attacked me. He punched and kicked me over and over again, seeing as how I had no choice but to defend myself. I headbutted him and caused him to be dazed, and then I kicked him as hard as I could between the legs. He toppled over in pain just as some police officers showed up. Someone had called them after seeing Barnett chasing after someone across the school. They restrained both myself and Barnett, who started to demand that they arrest me. "Arrest his man. He broke the windows of my car." "What are you talking about? I've been in the library the whole day. I never attacked your car." "What reason would he have to lie about it?" "Because he is a huge racist. He just hates me because I'm black." "You're damn right I do. You black people are all the same. Just a bunch of thieves and junkies. Officers, arrest him and beat him to a pulp. Do your jobs." The officers then asked the people in the cafeteria if my story checked out, and many people confirmed that I had been there all day. Once they heard this, they released me and went to put handcuffs on Barnett, who freaked out and tried to attack me again. When the officers tried to restrain him, he then attacked them and managed to steal the baton from one officer and use it to hit them a few times before they tased him. Once he was on the ground, they then hit him with their batons a few times until he was knocked out. Surprisingly, neither myself or Maya were ever asked any more questions about event after that. Although we did hear that Barnett was fired and blackmarked so that he would never be able to work for any other university or college ever again. On top of that, he ended up serving 3 years in prison for assaulting a police officer. After just 1 year of his sentence, his wife couldn't handle the attack she was receiving on social media for being married to a racist. At one point, her car was stolen and thrown into a nearby lake, with a note left at the scene saying, "Racist wife, forget about your car." Overwhelmed by the harassment, she divorced Barnett and moved to another state with their son. But it gets even better. When the cops were hitting him with their batons, they injured his hip and spine so that now he will forevermore walk with a limp and will need to use a cane in order to get around. Barnett was replaced with a man named Jacobs, and although he was a hard teacher to impress, he was much more fair and balanced and ultimately wasn't racist. Both Maya and I were able to pass his class easily enough. So yeah, it might have been a bit extreme, but neither Maya or myself could see any other way to get out from under Barnett. If we hadn't done anything, he would have failed us eventually, and for no better reason than because he hated the color of our skin. So there you have it. That's how we freed ourselves from the terror that was Barnett. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.